Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rams Talk as we finally get to be happy in a midweek episode as the Rams defeat Coventry 2-0. Frank Lampard's Coventry on a 9 out of 10 win spree, now 9 out of 11 after John Eustace masterclass. Joined tonight by Ollie and Craig. How are you, lads? Are you all good?
Much better than 5 days ago.
Good. Yeah,
for sure.
I think we're all a bit more cheery now after the first back-to-back wins since September. We'll come to you first, Ollie. The big buzzword at the minute is fighters, not victims. Just kind of sum up how you feel after these 2 wins with, John Eustace at the helm.
I just can't believe how hard everyone worked last night. I don't remember a game, honestly, where all 11 players have just worked and worked and worked. It almost felt like being in the stands, like being on the pitch. Like it was just that kind of game where it's just completely captivating, and I just love it. I would rather have that than, passing the ball, playing nice football around for 90 minutes, like just pure energy and passion from the players. And it was just, it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Probably best win of the season, I think.
The best feeling, maybe.
Best feeling, definitely.
Saturday was good, but I think last night was. I'll come to you, Craig. Was that the turning point? Do we now start believing that this is doable?
I don't know. Always half empty with Derby. I am. I think if we get a win on Saturday, I'm well in the camp that it's on. I think last night was the way that Paul Warne always wanted us to play in the Championship, but Eustace is not openly discussing players about us being underdogs, and I think that's what's given them the belief to play that way. Whereas I think under the previous regime, it was the mentality, we are underdogs, we're going to try and cling on to this. I think it reminded a lot of the players that they're good footballers and they're capable of playing at this level, and so we're seeing a bunch of players who can carry out a tactical plan, and it is marvellous. I do feel like we're back.
Well, we'll go on to the tactical plan because we've seen already during this, period of John Eustace that he isn't afraid to have a plan B, C, and at times plan D. Last night we seen virtually a flat back 5 for the majority of the game with Ryan Nyamby obviously coming in for Kane Wilson, and players being deployed in positions that we probably wouldn't expect them to, with Marcus Harness virtually playing as a striker. Ollie, just kind of. What's the difference between, games like last night and games when you was on previously against Oxford? Like, what's the difference? Because it is chalk and cheese at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, there's more effort, but tactically, it's just, I think Ebu is like the perfect example of how Eustace used Ebu. He's just finding different ways to use the players. I think he talked in his post-match presser how he'd taken Ebu and looked at someone that could get Derby up the pitch, and I'll be honest, having watched Ebu, he's unbelievable tackler, but as like a driving force forwards, you wouldn't really have thought it too much, but last night he was unbelievable in that role, and that's just all from Eustace, just having that tactical awareness and just doing something different and using the different strengths as players. And yeah, it's just tactical awareness that maybe Warne didn't have. And you said it's very similar to a Warne side, but that was the difference.
I think I've noticed that we're playing a little bit narrower as well. The pitch seems to be less wide. And that's clever because we're really lacking wingers at the moment, aren't we? And like you said, Ollie, the use of Adams has been genius because he is the perfect out-of-possession footballer. So, maybe Eustace noticed last night Coventry were dangerous down their left-hand side, and he was almost playing as like an inside right centre attacking midfielder.
It was confusing at times, wasn't it? It was very confusing seeing Ebu Adams pop up as the right winger.
But it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it was very intriguing. Like obviously the shape has been something that we flip-flop between a 4 and a 5 all year. What do we actually think John Eustace's plan is long-term? Because I don't feel he wants to play this way. I think when you look at his sides at Blackburn, he's always, and Birmingham as well, he's always seemed to be 4-2-3-1, that he speaks highly of the double pivot. He speaks highly about his wingers, being effective. And obviously, at the moment, we're not playing with any wingers or anything. So it's interesting to see how John Eustace goes in the future. So what's your two thoughts on that?
I don't know if you want to go first this time, Craig.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, interesting one. I said a couple of weeks ago when I was on this, I can see him using Thompson a lot more than the previous manager. I don't know, I didn't forget, but he's a much better footballer than we've been, under the Warren regime, because the ball's going over his head a lot of the time. And in the admin season, he was playing some really lovely stuff, the ball on the floor under Wayne Rooney. I can definitely see him being used in the George Thorne, John Eustace type of position, because he really puts himself about and he's got passing him. I don't know about his use of Adams, I love him to bits. But in a double pivot sort of role, he's not the best on the ball. And I don't know if use him as a further forward sort of midfielder, so maybe he'll be more of a squad player. It hurts me to say that because I love the bloke. But long term, I don't know if he'll be sacrificed. I don't know, but I see Thompson being pivotal to that, especially if we time down to a new deal. I can't see him being that expensive either. So there might be some thinking behind that, but I rate him and I hope to see him be the next youth player that comes through the system.
Anything from you, Ollie?
Yeah, I think I do like Tomo. I'm not sure whether Eustace will want to bring in his own players or how it's going to work. But one thing's for sure, at Blackburn, he played a lot, like in the first season. Well, I think he took over mid-season, did he, with Blackburn?
I think so,
and
he
used what he had and played pretty much a back five that was just very solid at the back and just relying on Schmodix. And I think it's a very, he's trying a very similar style thing. Obviously, he doesn't have a 25 goal a season striker, but he's scoring with set pieces. He's just keeping it solid and then keeping it kind of tight. Nick a goal there.
I think we could probably see. It wouldn't surprise me if we got that. Is it Dolan in? He's out of contract, isn't he?
Tyrese Dolan. He put a very heartfelt message out to John Eustace after he left, didn't he? And he's definitely out of contract. It's something to definitely keep
an eye on, isn't it? We need wingers, so it wouldn't surprise me if we saw him coming in.
Wingers, yeah.
He's exactly what Derby are missing. Just
pace. Yeah, he's electric.
Pace, unpredictability.
Good age.
I know we're going to talk a bit about someone that has found a little bit of that, but there is very, very little of that in this Derby squad at the moment.
Well, let's segue onto that, Nolly, being that you set it up. Marcus Harness, that is probably his best performance in a Derby County shirt, and I have been very, hit and miss on Marcus Harness throughout the season. He's had definitely some highs, like Portsmouth at home, and then, quite a few lows at times. What has happened to him under John Eustace? Eustace spoke about making him confident and realise how good he is. Craig, I'll come to you first. What is the difference in this Marcus Harness compared to the Paul Warren Marcus Harness?
I think I touched on it earlier, but I think John Eustace has just reminded the players they are good footballers. That they do more than get hold of the ball and just knock it down the wing and try and get the cross in. I don't think it's any secret that the training has been more intense and it's been more analytical. And I just think the confidence is much, much higher in ability. Harness played a lot of football last season under Kieran McKenna, and he's a coach who plays people who can play football. So I think Harness has always had technical ability. It's just, I think his confidence was just on the floor. And it's reminded him that he's a good player. I certainly didn't see him to be the cream that rises to the top of the squad and carries the fight.
You could say he's our Sandy Schmodix at this point.
Yeah, literally, could be, yeah. But yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with it. It seems like a top blow. It continues.
Any other standout performers from you, Ollie, in terms of, we've spoken about Marcus Harness, but I think 1 to 11 plus, I think it was only 2 subs we made last night, which is very interesting and probably something we'll catch up with later. Is there any other standouts that obviously caught your eye as well as Marcus Harness?
Well, I mean, across the board, I think everyone was brilliant. I mean, a person I'll single out is Tomo. I thought, honestly, for the first 20 minutes, he had an absolute mare. He was getting bullied, he misplaced passes, and like to turn it around from just struggling like that, and he was absolutely instrumental. It didn't stop running, and that's one thing we know Tomo does. But to be the age he is, to get completely bullied like that and then just turn it around and just keep going, it just epitomizes the team. And if the players can play like that and take heart from that, and there will be difficult moments, like, let's be honest, like yesterday was amazing, Blackburn was amazing, and there will just be tough moments. And if players like Tomo can turn around it was we were talking about it out of the game. That first 20 minutes from Tomo was a real struggle, but he was phenomenal. And yeah, more of that, please.
We'll move it on, and we'll talk about a unit of the pitch that I think probably deserves the most credit from last night, which is the three big lads at the back, with Nat Phillips moving from the centre to the right, with Matt Clark coming back in with his hamstrings, probably screaming at him after the 90 minutes performance, and as well, Mr. Derby County, as he's being labelled, Craig Forsyth. That back three last night, headed, kicked, probably punched at times, anything in front of them, and it was unbelievable to see them keep out a very exciting Coventry front three with Sakamoto, Haji Rai and Ellis Sims. Why is this all of a sudden just clicked in the back three, with Nat Phillips, Mr. San Siro, doing Cruyff turns in his own areas, and Matt Clark falling over the ball and still beating people, and Fozzie just timeless as ever, just seems to always get things right. Them three have got a massive role to play if Sandre Langas is injured, a bit past this international break. I'll come to you, Craig, as you mentioned in our little chat about the back three. What stood out to you the most, other than the fact that they was animals?
I mean, nothing worried him. I was never worried that Coventry were going to score. There was never a point where I was like, we're hanging on here, and they got loads of pressure. They just soaked up everything. I thought what was from three of them is you've got three experienced defenders. Like, they've been there and they've done it at this level, or in Phillips' case at a higher level. So there's no issue with playing Coventry at home on a Tuesday night, regardless of how on fire they've been in the last 10 or 11 games. I was really thrilled to see Fozzie in particular. The last couple of games, I was thinking his time might be up at Derby, and he struggled. But last night, he rolled back the years big time on the end of everything from the front. Shout out to Nat Phillips as well. I haven't been that sure about him.
No, I'm agreeing. I agree.
He was excellent, absolute colossus. I would take him on a contract, but I think he'll probably be on massive money. It would surprise me if he went somewhere else.
The rumours are he's on £65,000 a week. So if you fancy,
I can believe it.
40 to 45 grand off and coming to John Eustace's Derby County, that'd be great. Anything more to add to that, Ollie, or shall we move it on to? Let's talk about the goals in a second. But if there's anything more.
No, we could be here for hours praising the back three. They were like,
I don't think Jake would appreciate it if we just sat here all night and talked about how amazing we are. We'll go on to the first goal. Having watched it back, a really poor foul from Jake Bidwell, who was probably lucky to actually complete the 90 minutes for Coventry last night. A lot of fouls. There was one second half where he virtually hugged Ibu Adams, probably something that we all want to do as Derby fans, is give Ibu Adams a big hug at times. The delivery from Marcus Harness is absolutely on the money. Maybe a suspicion of poor defending, with Coventry seemingly not bothering to chase backwards and more bothered about wrestling Matt Clark, and an excellent header, which I've seen some Coventry fans say the keeper should have saved. For me, I think it's a brilliant header into the near post, and there's not really much the goalie can do other than try. But yeah, we'll come to you, Ollie. The first goal, it's just that bit of quality, and we've seen set pieces be so vital all season, and it's just nice that it's continued.
Yeah, and especially it's a new right-footed set piece taker, because the worry was Osborne is out now, but Osborne and Elder were the only real set piece takers in that team. And to have someone that's right-footed, I don't think has Harness taken any set pieces.
It's normally Kenzo and Kenzo and Mendes Lang, isn't it, who's been sharing right foot duties. So maybe we've accidentally stumbled on something as a masterstroke with Mendes and Kenzo not being in the side. We'll come to you, Craig. Anything more on the first goal?
I think famously from his spell at Derby, when Lampard was in charge, we couldn't defend set pieces, could we?
Yeah.
So Eustace could have latched onto that. I thought it was dreadful defending, because if Clark didn't get hold of that, I think Armstrong was just behind him.
Yeah, completely unmarked.
Who would have got on the end of it as well. So fortunately, just latching onto a weakness that we've seen in Lampard's previous management tenures, and got a lot of people you can hit in that team, haven't you? Big lads, Fozzie, Phillip, Clark, Adams puts himself about. So this won't be the end of the set piece goals, will it? And hopefully it'll just carry us on the table.
Yeah, let's hope not. Just going to look at a few quick comments in the chat, and then we'll get back to it. One from Sky Blue Deck saying, comparing you to Stoke, I felt you were way more solid, better defensively. Stoke might have a better attackers, but Derby looked very solid. And a special mention to Ebou Adams. Ollie, have you got anything more for that first goal? Just jump in, and then we'll move it on to the bit of controversy.
Oh, I was just going to say, saw something earlier that Derby have scored the most set piece goals in the Championship.
15, isn't it? I think Luton are behind us on 14. Let's hope they don't score any more set pieces, and we can add 5 more, and we'll be laughing. On to a bit of controversy, and maybe a bit of karma back to the Rams' favour with the second goal. A hint of ball out of play, bit more of a hint. I think Jerry Yates was virtually sat in the first row of the South Stand when he crossed the ball in, but we're not going to complain. It was a goal that was very weird. It was like the third phase of a corner, and we just seemed to be relentless in the way we won the ball back, which is, again, testament to the way John Eustace has got us set up. I thought when we look at the goal, Jerry Yates' movement, I mean, Ebou's passing, he's the best, worst footballer in the world. He's massively overhit the pass. But Yates' movement, he completely blindsides the Coventry defender. It could have been Bidwell again, which is, he's had a really poor evening if it was him. And, Callum Elder, the Aussie boomerang in the box, he was up and down that wing like something not right last night, with arguably the worst right foot I've ever seen. And it luckily falls into harness. The technique was outstanding through Dovin's legs. And again, Dreamland at Pride Park. Is this the karma? Is that the karma? Is that the retribution from the Norwich goal all the way back when? I'll come to you, Craig.
I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago, that if we went down by a point, I'd be looking at that Norwich game and thinking, maybe we'll pull a bit of Steve Gibson out and be suing the PGMOL. But I couldn't really tell if it was out or not. I'm not sure, but if it was, they do say that things in football even themselves out, don't they? Do. So maybe we're finally seeing a little bit of that. I was actually surprised last night that the ref, Allison, is it? The guy, he was part of the worst game I've ever seen at Port Vale last season or the year before. So I thought he was better than I thought he would be. So I suppose that's one positive, but maybe karma's on our side. Things are looking up. Who knows?
Well, let's hope the dice have changed into our favour. Anything more, Ollie? Before we'll have a little, chat about the injury situation in a second. But is there anything more on that second goal that we can think of?
I think it's just sheer willpower and sheer energy, like all the way back. I mean, it's not a pretty goal, is it? But just three players. I don't think
it's going to win goal of the month, is it?
I don't know. There's not probably much competition for goal of the month, but no. Like winning the ball back initially. Yates not giving up on a ball that he could quite easily have let go out, and it just sums up what Eustace is bringing to the team at the moment.
I think Yates is looked a lot more impressive last night because he wasn't leading that press on his own from the front. He had a lot of support from Adams, a lot of support from Arnold, And so we saw a bit more of his ability that we were perhaps seeing before Christmas when we weren't quite so poor, so low confidence. And I still think he's got a big role to play, especially being the only striker that's fit.
Yeah, we'll have a little look at some of the comments. Sonny said, can't believe how much Eustace has changed things. I think we're all in agreement. It's been since, Blackburn, we've looked a lot better than what we did against Queen's Park Rangers, let's say that much. Rhea Sosa, sorry if I've got your name wrong, I apologise. I think we can hope, just don't think it's over yet. I think we're all in a bit of a dreamland at the moment, and it could quite easily, Saturday we'll talk a bit close. We'll talk a bit more about Saturday towards the end of the pod once we've got through the last bits of this. So I agree. Simon Pollard says, if we go down fighting, then fair enough. I was dreading going down with a team that had given up. Again, it's a very fair point. That Queen's Park Rangers game just sticks out as the team looked like we were finished. What a crucial win. Again, winning 3 on the spin would have us in a really good position, may even put us outside that dotted line, which is where we want to be. And Matt Clark was incredible, but again, Matt Clark is Matt Clark. Just a mention from me, and I think this is quite a good full moment. I was speaking on the way back from the game with my dad last night, and he says, isn't it funny that Everton have saved us again with another loanee, with Leon Osman many years ago, and now young Harrison Armstrong. Just how good is he? Like, I just want to make a comment because I heard a mention of George Thorne, and I think Harrison Armstrong is a more athletic George Thorne, and I really hope for his career's sake he doesn't have the injury look that George Thorne did. He is the complete midfielder for me. Like, he carries the ball, he breaks the game down. Okay, he got a needless yellow card, and again, he probably could have been lucky that he finished the 90 after diving late on in the first half, but he was absolutely immaculate. I'll come to you first, Ollie. Just how good is he? Because I know fans wrote him off pretty quickly saying he's only a kid, but just how good is Harrison Armstrong?
Oh, it's unbelievable. For 18, like, wow. I've got a mate who's an Everton fan, so I've been giving him regular updates and just saying, like, this kid is going to be special. Like, it's not just like technical ability. He plays like someone that's 10 years older than he is. So if this is him at 18, like, wow. I'd hope, if Derby stay up, and I'm sure we'll get to that, but if Derby do stay up, would he come back next season? I really hope so.
It all depends on Everton's investment, doesn't it? If they've got money to play with, then maybe. If not, I've already seen a few Everton fans calling for him to be in the matchday squads. So it's interesting, Craig.
It's a bit of he's a bit of a throwback, isn't he? I don't think he's a 6. He's not a 10. I think he's an 8. He's a proper box-to-box midfielder. And what I like about him is he plays like he's got a point to prove. He's such a young lad, like 18, and he looks like he's about 12. But he's playing like to prove he should be playing men's football, and he's standing out, which is no mean feat, is it, when we're scrapping around for points? And also that Eustace is trusting a young player like him over someone who has more experience like Kenzo, who is maybe more of a luxury player. I don't think we've got any chance of keeping hold of him next season. No, I think he's good enough to be in and around the Everton team. I think Moyes will chuck him in. We're just lucky to have him.
He's a very much similar build, and I'm not saying by anything, don't clip this, not by any means. He's a very similar player to Jude Bellingham in the way he moves, the way he gets around the pitch. He's sort of the same kind of frame, and if he can nurture, there is nothing stopping him from being, Jude Bellingham's levels far exceeded probably what everybody thought, but there's nothing stopping Harrison Armstrong from becoming a regular England player. If he can just put all the pieces together, he's got all the makings of a real top footballer. Let's kind of change. Go on, Ollie, go on.
I was going to say, comparing a Derby player to Jude Bellingham has never gone wrong before.
Shout out Carl Guest. We will never forget the tweet. We'll never let that tweet die. Going on to a more sour note is the update on Sandre Langas with his potential knee injury that doesn't require surgery, but he's seen a surgeon, which to me is a bit worrying. They say in a few weeks, but how long is a few weeks? And can we cope with, we've spoke so highly of the back three. Can Forsyth last this 9-game stretch? Can Matt Clark's hamstrings handle it. I don't think Nat Phillips is much of a worry, but I think Clark and Fozzie, can them two left footers handle these 9 games? And if not, what do we do? Is it a fact of Nyambi coming in and shuffling round, or is it a drastic measures of changing system again? So I'll come to you, Craig. What do you think with the injuries, especially to Sandre Langus?
I think Eustace is a bit different to Warne. He takes the advice from all the coaches and the staff, but doesn't necessarily follow it. Like I said, Wilson should have come off on Saturday and he didn't take him off. He's seen a surgeon because I think under normal circumstances he'd have the surgery. But I think they're going to try and get him through it with injections, I think, because the injury issues that we've had all season, if I'm in Eustace's position, scrapping for our lives, you can't rely on anyone in the squad to stay fit.
No.
Haven't they all had their problems at one time or another, haven't they? And if we lost Fozzie, he's played a lot of games for Derby, but he has little spells out with injury occasionally. Matt Clark's already had that this season. Nyambi dips in and out. Wilson dips in and out. Elder dips in and out. That's your back 5 who started last night. I don't think you can run all 9 of them staying fit. All 5 of them, staying fit for 9 games. So I think they'll manage it, and they'll only play him if we have to play him. And I don't think that might not be the right thing to do by him and his health, but we have to look at the big picture for the club, don't we? It's ridiculous as well that we've signed 2 players from Norway. Both of them require surgery. What's going on there?
Norwegian knees.
Yeah.
It's the risk you take signing players that don't have pre-seasons.
Yeah.
Right, at the end of the day,
it's the
cheaper option, but
yeah. So we'll move on to the more positive news that we could potentially see Nathaniel Mendez-Lang and Corey Blackett-Taylor feature before the end of the season, which will certainly make the bench look a bit more lively, especially with how we're playing at the moment. Just how do them two fit into this Derby team now, though? Because, I can't really see them changing too much. I mean, we've already seen Marcus Harness kind of transition. For me, he's a winger, transition into the second striker role is something we've seen Nathaniel Mendez-Lang do as well. Is that an opportunity for Corey Blackett-Taylor as well to get himself? Because for me, he's the most exciting player in this Derby team when he's played and been fit. Is that going to make selection a bit more difficult, or is that just going to make the bench, we can actually bring more than 2 subs on and know we're not just bringing young boys on who are, still finding their way in the game. So it'd be interesting. What do you think, Craig? Will they feature in the 11s, or will they have to come on from the bench?
Corey Blackett-Taylor, I don't think we will see him properly featuring under Eustace until we play a back 4. I think he's a pure winger. Yeah. I don't think we'll see him playing wing back. I don't think we'll see him playing as a second striker. If we see him this season, it'll be from the bench, or if we play a back 4. I think Mendez-Lang still has a part to play. He can play that hard role. I think he'll have a point to prove. There are a few rumours going around that his injury wasn't an injury and he'd had a falling out with the new manager. I mean, could be the case, but I think he still has a part to play. He will want to prove that he can still be the main man like he has been for the last year and a half.
You know what? With CBT, I actually think he'd fit in very well with the formation yesterday. I know Harness was more of a second striker, but Harness and Ebu played particularly wide. I could see it was kind of like a combination between it was not quite a winger, not quite a number 10. I could see CBT fitting in there. Is that type of skillful player that can play in those places, and would we have expected Ebu to have played where he did last night? Probably not. So I could see Eustace trying to not shoehorn. I don't think it's quite shoehorn, because I think CBT has the ability to play that kind of role, but I could see him playing a very similar role to what Harness did last night.
The thing that you've got with CBT is the ability to carry the ball at pace. And we saw when we were trying to break right, Adams was trying to do it, Thompson at times. They were all trying to break with the ball, but he's very good at carrying the ball with pace. So, yeah, maybe you're right, Ollie. Maybe fit system like that.
Well,
But
we did.
I know I
We
just
did
can't
see
see
a
him being fit.
glimpse, didn't we? We seen a glimpse of that in League One when we played Portsmouth away from home with a weird night where Joe Ward turned into David Beckham for an hour and scored twice. And Corey Blackett-Taylor carried the ball through the middle. I think it was for the first goal, wasn't it? He sort of ran, and eventually Joe Ward managed to get round him and we scored. I think it's something we could definitely see. Would it work from the off? I'm not sure. I think Blackett-Taylor's work rate may be something to question defensively, that is, because Eustace said in his presser he likes his teams to be defensively solid. But it's definitely exciting that we've got, two, what would you call, proper wingers coming back, which could only be a good thing in terms of the system. What we will do now is we're going to have a video from a Plymouth Argyle fan, and we are going to get back. I will obviously plug his pod at the end. We'll let him talk, and then we'll get on to the nitty-gritty of Saturday's game against Plymouth Argyle. So we'll quickly bang him on. Let's do it now. 2 seconds. Boom. Why is it there?
Having me on. I'm here to speak about Argyle and some questions asked as an Argyle fan. My first question asked was, how do you think Argyle have performed over the course of the season? And I think Argyle have been very underwhelming. I think that they've sort of let the fans down, considering the manner that we stayed up in last season, and we thought we was going to kick on the appointment of Rooney and everything just going so far downhill. We haven't rectified our mistakes earlier on in the season, whereas where we've went to Norwich and lost 6-1, or Bristol 4-0, Cardiff 5-0. We haven't fully rectified them in the next games, and we've put ourselves in a bit of a pickle with these last 10 games to go. 4 points adrift at the bottom of the table. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. And some players that I think could cause damage to this Derby side. We are bottom of the league for a reason. I think we haven't got a second option when we go 1-0 down. I think we look good until we concede, and that's our problem. But Connor Hazard on his day, wow, what a keeper, can stop shots for fun. Katic and Maxi at the back have been great additions to the side since coming in January. And Ryan Hardy, when he's fit, we've seen it in that little spell before he got injured. He was scoring goals like no tomorrow. So hopefully they'll be back on their A game and can cause you guys some trouble. Weaknesses, like I just touched up on there, I think the ability to not have a second plan when we go 1-0 down. I think we best seen it against Sheffield Wednesday last weekend, where we were on top of the game for the first 5 minutes and we brought the game to them. We had some great chances, but then as soon as we went 1-0 down, we crumbled. Leeds, and another team that which we had the exact same at, really. And the list goes on of teams where we've been on top, went 1-0 down, crumbled, lost the game 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-0. So it's not ideal. My score prediction, obviously, I went up to the previous game, the 1-1, and I can't remember what score prediction I said there, but I'd like another draw. I think a draw helps Argyle out more than Derby. I think you're on an impressive run, beating Coventry last night, and didn't you beat Blackburn on Saturday? So it's 2 great games coming into an Argyle side which is struggling very bad. So yeah, I'm gonna give Argyle the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna say 1-1 again. Hopefully we can pull back a point. We are at home. And the last question is, do I think Argyle will stay up? It's $1 million question, isn't it? My heart says yes, my head says no. So I think it's a really important game tonight at Portsmouth, and we need to get some points on the board. If we don't get any, I think we are down. I think we haven't shown enough gut and determination over the course of this season to prove that we should stay up, to have that ability to say that we were robbed of games where we haven't been. So, but yeah, hopefully see some of you guys on Saturday while you're down there. I do a little Argyle fan channel. I don't know if you can tell behind me, I've got some memorabilia and all stuff. So yeah, it'd be nice to see some of you down there, and hopefully be a good game. All the best, guys. Thank you.
I'm on mute. Hello, I'm back. A big thank you to Harvey for doing that for us, because we were scrambling early. That's why I couldn't remember the name, because there was a few names that was being thrown around and I didn't want to get it wrong. So Harvey England on YouTube, again, all things Argyle, just give it a watch. He sounds very downbeat, doesn't he? And that's kind of where we were a few weeks ago. Like that's how quickly football changes, that was us, and now we're on the complete other side. Do we have to worry about Plymouth? Do we have to, take that with a little bit of a pinch of salt, and maybe they can come out and start their run tonight against Portsmouth and potentially banana skin us? Ollie, what do you reckon? How do you think it will go?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'd just like to say that Rams Talk does not endorse the shirt in the bottom left of that video. Yeah, I honestly, it depends. Like, if they lose, I think they're done. Like, I know he said that he'd take a point, but it's a huge game on Saturday. I think a point is much better for us than it is for Plymouth. I think they have to win, really. So yeah, I think they're in real danger of being cut adrift. Obviously, they're playing Portsmouth today, and if they somehow pull off a win against Portsmouth, then it looks very different. But if they lose their next 2 games or don't even win either of them, I think they are in real trouble. So I'm not going to say I'm not completely worried about them, because if I say that, they'll end up winning, and then yeah. So I'm not going to say it quite on this while we're recording, but I think they're in deep trouble is what I'm going to say on that.
I was really surprised to say that he'd take a draw. I agree with you, Ollie. I think this is a game they have to win, and I think they'll be discussing that, in the changing room and between them, that they will think this is a win game amongst the squad. But it says a lot about the mood amongst the fan base, right? I felt for him a bit, and it like you said, Jack, things change so quick.
Funny old game, isn't it?
If we can frustrate them and really go, by the sounds of it, the fans will be right on the back of the players, and we can use that to our advantage. I'd say on the Rams Talk WhatsApp group the other day that I thought we'd beat Coventry and then follow up with a loss at Plymouth. I can't really change now. I'm going to have to stick with that, even though it hurts me a bit. Sorry.
Well, we'll move on to. We've got a couple of questions to finish off with. The first question is, what changes from Tuesday night? Do we make any changes? Does it stay as it is? Does anybody come in? Does anyone go out? Ollie, come to you first. What do you think? And we'll ask for a score prediction at the end of that as well.
I think it'll be very similar. The only change I can see is Kane Wilson, whether that's directly for Nyambi or whether Nyambi moves in. Maybe Clark's not fit enough to play 2 90 minutes back to back, and maybe Nyambi sort of slides across, Phillips slides across. I can't see him changing too much. I think there's going to be a lot of tired legs, but at the end of the day, there's not that many players. And honestly, yeah, Kane Wilson, by the way, I don't think we've mentioned it, him not playing at all and being able to rest for the whole week is going to be massive on Saturday. And so I back him. And I think score prediction, I think the first goal is going to be massive, and I think there could only be 1 goal in it. So 1-0 Derby.
Craig, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think Wilson will come in. I only think he's going to make that change because Nyambi's just come back from injury. I think if Nyambi had been fit, I think he'll stick with it because it's away from home. And Wilson is much more attacking, isn't he, down that right-hand side? But I think he's kind of forced to make that change a little bit. Eustace has not been totally honest with the injuries as well. We didn't expect Nyambi to come back in yesterday because we thought he'd be out for 3 or 4 weeks. It surprised me to see Langas play. I'm just going to throw that out there. It wouldn't surprise me because I didn't expect to see Nyambi, can Craig Forsyth play 3 games in a week at his age. I'm not sure. I've got to stick with what I said the other day. I think we'll just pull a classic Derby and lose 1-0 and get sucked straight back into panic mode. I hope I'm. But,
I also hope you're very wrong.
Yeah, me too.
I might be getting a bit carried away with the recent results. I think we'll go down there. I think we'll be fine. I think it'll be, as Ollie said, the first goal is going to be massive. I think if we score 1, we score 2. It seems to be a common theme with John Eustace. I can see it being probably a 2 or 3-0 win for Derby, and basically putting the nail in the Plymouth coffin and bringing us above that dotted line for the first time in forever. And there's teams around us in a bit of free fall at the minute, and it'd be interesting to see the result of Oxford tonight. And obviously, Oxford are playing. Is it Oxford Hull? I think it's Oxford Hull, isn't it? So it'd be an interesting one to see what comes of that. Craig, go on, shoot, let's go.
Yeah, what made me think from the Plymouth fan, general demeanour was the momentum being so big in football. Stoke fans are probably feeling the same as him. Oxford fans are probably worrying about their recent form. Cardiff fans are worrying. It feels like Derby are going in completely the opposite direction to that as a fan-based club. So hopefully it will continue in that vein, to be fair.
A week's a long time in football, isn't it? A week's a very long time in football, because before Saturday we was literally in the same boat as them other clubs, and now look at us, we're dreaming of winning 3 games on the spin, which I think that'll be the first time we do that this season, right? I think that's a stat that I'm going to chuck into the ether. Maybe I've just jinxed it, and maybe Craig's going to be right. We're going to finish on the ultimate question, and we've touched on it a little bit, is will we survive? Which obviously Harvey says Plymouth aren't going to survive with his head. His heart says yes. My heart says obviously yes, and my head is starting to believe. We'll go to you, Ollie. Are you a believer, or have you got to see a little bit more yet?
I'm a believer, but I reckon it's going to be tough. I think it's just going to come down to just a straight shootout on the last day, and I half of my family are Stoke fans, so that's going to be an interesting one for me. But I just think it's going to come down to just a straight shootout, Derby versus Stoke on the last day, and I think we've got enough to just do it. But I don't hold on to your seats, kind of.
Yeah, I think my heart and head is saying we'll do it, but I think we're going to have a dip because of what of the injuries that we've got. I think there's going to be moments where we get sucked back in, and I think Stoke and Cardiff, as awful as they are, and Oxford having an awful run of fixtures, I think it will be their run of form that keeps us up rather than us pulling ourselves out of it with the injuries in the squad that we've got. But yeah, I think we'll do it. I'm a believer.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've got to make the most of this little bounce we're on at the moment, and just take all the momentum before we hit, as we've spoken to before we went live, was the games coming up after the international break. Well, I think we've covered everything that was to be covered. I can't think of anything really more to speak on other than Derby are going to stay up, and we're going to do it, aren't we? And let's hope Craig's wrong and we go again Saturday.
I hope I'm wrong, boys. I really do.
We take all 3 points away from Plymouth. What we'll say, if you've enjoyed listening to us waffle on for nearly 45 minutes, just remember, let us know in the comments any of your thoughts, opinions. It's my first host. Tell me if I didn't do very well. I don't really mind. I'm still learning. Jake's been, my mentor. So if anything fails, blame Jake. That's the way I see it. Remember, get us on all good podcast streams. Give us the ratings and the comments. It just feeds the algorithm, and we appreciate it massively. And let's hope, come the end of the season, we're doing a big season review, and we are previewing the Championship next season. As I said earlier, I think we're going to go away, win 3-0. Nothing more from me, so it's a goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
Bye from me. Up the Rams.
Remember, in the description as well, I forgot to mention, we are doing the running challenge for Derby food banks. So make sure, again, if you want to see us complete that challenge, we need all the help we can get, because believe me, I am way, way off it. So that's down below. Again, it's goodbye from me. Thank you for listening to us waffle on. Up the Rams. Let's go to Plymouth and take all 3 points. Come on.
Love it.